Okay, and here are handouts. If you could pass those out, please. Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Allison Mueller. I am an ATPI student at the University of North Texas, and I'm here to talk to you today about effective communication in a diverse workplace. So my presentation is called Talk to Anyone, and I hope by the end of this presentation you will be able to. Now, to begin with, men. Men are lineal and factual thinkers. They like to be direct with others. They don't want to bother with discussing feelings and emotions. This is talking about the workforce. They want to be brief and to the point. Think of their minds like a ship in the ocean sailing from point A to point B. A great example of contrast between men and women for this would be men and women at the mall. A woman needs a pair of shorts. A man needs a pair of shorts. The man walks in. He knows exactly what store he needs to go into. He knows what brand, he knows what size. He even knows the closest entrance, exit, bathroom, and checkout center. He'll walk straight in. He'll grab his pants. Is he going to try to decide, compare and contrast different shades of khaki? No, probably not. He's just going to grab what he thinks looks best, walk straight, pay, leave, out of there, 5 minutes. Whereas woman wants to walk in first, she parks on the other side of the mall because she wants to chat with her friends, walk in different stores, eventually make her way over to Dillard's to find her shorts. Oh no, but they have these with 4 pockets. These have 5 pockets. Look at all these different shades of colors. I know I've been to the mall several times on a mission and never even made it to the store because I got so distracted with talking and relationship building. That's a big difference between men and women. I know my husband hates shopping with me. Now, let's look at women. Women think conceptually and with associations. They give orders and soften demands, whereas man will say, Jim, I need you to do A, B, and C. A woman will say, hi Jim, if you don't mind, A, B, and C need to get done today. We're more open to discussing our feelings and emotions, and we prefer to really chat and build relationships. We're not just about signing that deal like men are. Us women, we want to really build a relationship with someone. We need to like who we work with. Whereas men, they don't need to necessarily like who they work with. It's different. They don't have the same associations as we do. And think of our minds like underground subway systems. Everything's connected. Now, we're going to discuss the cross-generation workplace. Currently, we have 4 generations in the workplace, and by 2020, we're going to have 5. So it's very important to know how to effectively communicate with people of all 4, soon to be 5 different generations. Now, the greatest generation, born between 1922 and 1945. They're silent, they're veterans, they're traditionalists. They have a high respect for authority. They're a single employer career. I know my grandfather worked for Morton Salt for 50 years. Same company. That's almost unheard of today. They also were around during the desegregation era. When many of the great generation were born, you had a sip of water from a water fountain depended on what color your skin was. And as they became working adults in the workplace, they saw that dissipate. So maybe if I was of the greatest generation as a senior in college giving this presentation, maybe instead of talking about women and working with different cultures and different age groups, I would simply be having a presentation on working with people of different races in the United States. So a lot has changed. And also, technology-wise, they use rotary phones. So you can imagine what they would think of as now, smartphones. So it's a very, very different. A lot has changed since they've entered the workforce and when they were growing up themselves. Now we're going to discuss the boomers. These are people born between 1946 and 1964. High value on optimism and involvement. They also have a high value placed on the team. They also saw women in the workplace. Between women's liberation and an increasingly high divorce rate in the boomer generation as adults, more and more women came into the workplace, which is a great thing. So possibly if I was a young person of the boomer generation, I would be discussing more how to effectively communicate with women. That would probably be the center of what I'm talking about today. But now women make up just shy of 50% of the workplace. They also question authority, unlike their parents who had high respect for authority. Boomers weren't so sure. And touch tone phones were their main mean for communication. So a lot has changed. Now we're going to discuss Generation X. These are people born between 1964 and 1980. They're skeptic and informal. They have a high value of independence and a very strict work and home separation. I know you probably have heard and maybe even used these terms. Don't mix work and play. What happens at home stays at home. Don't bring work home with you. All these things, you know, the Generation X really brought them into popularity. And also they saw the rise of cell phones. As young adults, cell phones began to become primary use, but we're talking about the flip kind with the snake game. Not smartphones that we have today. Those millennials, we've had those. Millennials are people born between 1981 and 2000. We're realists and we're really confident in ourselves. We were raised by the baby boomers. So I know my parents, big baby boomers, definitely questions authority. They taught me to be independent and to love me for who I am. And we became pretty confident in ourselves. We're the first generation where the whole team gets a trophy, no matter how poorly anyone does. And we're also not loyal to any particular company. I know me as a young adult, I was around for the Great Recession of 2008. I saw many people of the greatest generation who had been with their company for 40 years suddenly get laid off. Like, you know, they've only been there 4 weeks. Also that the CEO can get a multi-million-dollar bonus before he sells off the company. It was scary. So we started focusing on ourselves. We don't think what can we do for the company, we think what can this company do for us, and we view a successful career as what's on our resume, what have we personally done. Whereas people, the greatest generation, view a successful career as what they've done for the company and how long they've been with the company. And also smartphones. I was 22 when I got my first smartphone. So our entire adult lives, almost, we've had smartphones. So the entirety of information known to mankind is in my pocket. It's amazing. My family has 5 computers. It's incredible. So given that, that has led to multicultural communication, because all of this technology has really made our world smaller. With social media and the internet, something can happen across the world and 5 minutes later I'm watching footage of it. I just had a conversation yesterday with a face-to-face on Skype with my cousin in Germany. It's amazing. So the world is becoming smaller. We need to know how to effectively communicate with people from all over the world, not just people in the United States. So given that, we're going to go ahead and discuss Middle East and Latin America. I know that they're two vastly different cultures, areas, and that they have a lot of different aspects within them. So this is very broad and general to just kind of give you a rough idea. Please never assume that anyone necessarily falls under any of these just because of the way that they look or anything like that. They're an interdependent culture, which means that they have a very high value of the community as a whole. Time is also really flexible. I know when my husband was in Iraq, they would say, let's meet at 3, but maybe they wouldn't show up till 3:30. Maybe someone came straggling in at 4. He was shocked as an American, but there it's completely acceptable. I mean, even in formal business settings, meeting at 3 doesn't necessarily happen at 3. They're also a high context culture, which means that there's a lot more to what they say than what they're actually saying. You need to find the hidden meaning. There's a lot said in body language and how they say yes. In the United States, if someone says yes, it means yes. If someone says no, it means no. But in these cultures, if someone says yes, maybe it's just to save face and not embarrass you because the answer is actually no. And the thing about, I know this is true in the Middle East, it's very rude not to greet every individual person as you walk into a room. Something to keep in mind if you were ever over there. Asia is also an interdependent culture that is high context, and they really value age and experience. Respect your old elders, and even ancestors are highly regarded. Titles are also highly regarded, and they often go hand in hand with age and experience. You're never going to have someone of Generation X with a higher title than someone of the greatest generation. It could happen here. It probably is happening right now in a company you can even think of, but in Asia, absolutely not. And also, they don't reveal emotions publicly. So if you're upset or particularly really happy, you don't display that. You keep things neutral. You keep things professional. Now we'll talk about Europe. Europe has a really high value on the individual. Low context culture like the United States, which means yes means yes, no means no. We get straight to the point, facts out. We don't play games of hidden meanings and try to figure out what people are really saying. What they say is what they say, and if that's not the case, then that's very unprofessional. They have a high value of personal and vacation time. I know that Sweden has a 2-year maternity leave. In the United States, I believe it's 6 weeks, so quite a difference there. And an arm's length is ideal personal space in Europe, but please keep in mind that Europe, like all these other sub areas of the world, is very diverse. For example, Italians find no offense in frequent touching. So if you're in a meeting in Rome and Roberto begins touching your arm a lot, giving you a hug, resting his hand on your leg, he's probably not trying to flirt with you. He's probably just doing something that's very commonly done in his culture. US and Canada, we also, like Europe, have a high value of individual and a low context. Unlike Asia, kind of the opposite of Asia, we really value youth and new things, which definitely has its pros and cons. We want to know what's next, what's newer, what's better. It keeps us always forward thinking. We also have a value of time is money. So unlike the Middle East and a lot of Latin cultures, if you have a 3 o'clock meeting, you need to get there at 2:45 because time is money, and to be late is just rude. Sometimes even being on time is rude. And a firm grip handshake is a good way to greet people when conducting business meetings. And 2 to 3 feet is ideal distance. Now, to kind of sum everything up, men and women, different generations, different cultures, we all communicate differently. And there is no right way to communicate. I'm sure there are a lot of wrong ways, but there's no one right way to communicate. And most communication is nonverbal. So, good things to keep in mind when heading out into that workplace. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. I hope everyone has a good night.